everyone. Welcome to Tinfoil Tales. I'm your host, Brandon Wright. Got a pretty interesting episode here for you tonight. We'll be joined by my guest, Rocco. Now, Rocco believes that he's experienced some de-aging and other instances that we've kind of discussed before on previous episodes. But he believes that he was a part of what they call the Montauk Project back in the 1990s. But if you've ever had an encounter or a story to share and you'd like to be on the show, please send me an email at tinfoiltalespodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on social media. Look me up on Facebook. Look for Tinfoil Tales. We'll be on there. You can reach me that way as well. But let's go ahead and jump on in with our story with Rocco. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I'd like to welcome my guest on the show today, Rocco. Rocco, thanks for coming out and talking with me.
Anytime.
So we've had some discussions here and there, but basically you were part of experiments, government experiments, we'd say. And go ahead.
I was born 1987 on this timeline, obviously, because I believe I was age regressed at certain points in my life. But I was born in Largo, Florida in 1987. I ended up moving to Long Island, New York, to where my mother's family was currently living on the eastern end of Long Island. And what happened with me was I had no memory of any of this growing up, no memory whatsoever. 35 years old currently right now. I have to say it's been a hell of a ride. I'm not going to sit back and, give you a scripted story, or I'm just going to shoot from the hip, because this stuff could be painful to talk about, very painful to talk about, some of it. But I had my first ET contact at 3 years old. I was in between my mother and my father, and my mother remembers the whole thing going down. She said they looked to appear to be like these grays, but they were like, she said it was almost like it looked like a light bulb. They looked like light bulbs, like flickering kind of, but it was like I want to say like a greenish color. I had night terrors growing up my whole life. Up until about 10 years old, I couldn't sleep in my own room without waking up from night terrors. It was a scary situation for me. I was currently being schooled in preschool on the air base in West Hampton Beach by the name of Gabreski. And that's where they started doing like the, what I'd say, hooked on phonics, hearing tests. They'd bring me out of class, bring me into small rooms, ask me, how would you feel if you went to go kill yourself? How do you think your family would feel? So a lot of suicidal programming, and yeah, my memories are, it's pretty interesting because my memories, like as I get older, it's like the ride gets even rougher, so to speak, because I'm finding out more things about myself that I didn't know about as a child. However, I was dealing with like school. I never really liked going to school. I never liked going to school. It was like, because I had a feeling a group of me and others were considered they would call us the basement boys, is what they would call us. I do remember being taken out to Montauk. There's a bunker by the name of Battery 216. And keep in mind, this was in the 90s. The place was still desolate. It was still, shut down to the public. And so what more than having a defunct place and doing more stuff just on maybe the top level, or because that place was wide open for a very long time, very wide open.
Now, just for those who don't know what Montauk is, could you give them a little bit of a idea of what it was?
Well, basically, from what my recollection was, is there was abuse with children, and growing up, I remember kids finding out going to school, and kids not being in class and not knowing where these kids were, and they would just. It was a program that ended supposedly in around the 80s, they say. See, I don't believe that it just up and ended in the 80s. But I'm not like a historian when it comes to it. I'm more of like, I've experienced things in the here and now as well. Back around 2014 when I awoke to what is my journey, and trying to find out what my journey was, and trying to find out what purpose I had. And I dealt with a lot of what they call altars that are created while you're in these programs, and then dealing with them surfacing and dealing with other people can be hard sometimes, and it can cause a lot of infighting. The last time you spoke to me, and I was having really a rough time. I feel like there is an energetic shift going on as we speak. A lot of weird energies, a lot of people getting sick. So it's definitely stuff is still going on, and we need to put an end to it. But for me, like, I have brief memories, like not full out memories. I'm still working on that as we speak. I do have memories of, always having dreams, and now I'm questioning, were they dreams, or was I in another dimension? Was I in a parallel universe? Was I in where, the possibilities are endless. The possibilities are endless. But a lot of rape. I remember a lot of rape, as well as, torture, splitting the mind, reprogramming the mind, to get you ready to sit in what they call the Montauk chair, and send you into other times, like in time travel. They had all of that technology. So they were able to do that. And that's what the Montauk chair was supposedly came off of a crashed UFO object. Um, like I said, I some of my memories are a bit shallow, and it's been a while since I've done an actual interview. So, I'm a little scattered brained. I do help others. Once you learn, how to deal with certain things when it comes to this, um, you gravitate towards either helping others or finding something that you're good at. The whole goal is to find yourself, to find the real you. That's how I look at it. Is I got to find the real me. Um, it's destroyed relationships for me. It's destroyed marriages. It's destroyed or a marriage. It's destroyed. I it destroyed my relationship with my child's mom for a very long time, um, where I'd become very physically violent and hateful towards her. And we just decided it's time to just split up. And I needed to work on me. And it's an everyday thing for me is working on me and finding my true self through meditations, so on and so forth. So I try not to, dig too deep into my memories, because sometimes that can cause me to not be able to go out and do what I need to do, like as easy as going to the store and picking up food, holding jobs, trusting people, with what I tell them. Um, Also, you know, Preston B. Nichols, just for the record, did a lot of heinous, hateful, horrible, horrifying things to individuals. And there are individuals out there that know exactly what I'm talking about. And there are a lot of them are afraid to supposedly, it's like they'll talk about it, but then some of these people want to idolize these people. And in my opinion, I don't want to idolize my perpetrators.
Who is this Preston Nichols?
He was one of I believe he deprogrammed, reprogrammed. He was a programmer in Montauk and I believe an engineer, um, like a scientist type guy. You could look him up, but he's gone now. He passed away.
It looks like he was the one that originally wrote the Montauk Project, the book that was released for it.
Yeah, but we all know a book, can be one thing and then the truth can be another thing.
Yeah, I've looked a little bit into it without necessarily like diving into the story or anything, but it seems to be, at least for purposes of keeping things under wraps, they pretty much discredit anything that guy had anything to say about that Preston Nichols. They all said he was a liar and none of it was true. It was all basically bullshit that he'd made.
Yeah. Well, it was real. But like I said, I've seen Dracos, I've seen, raptors, I've dealt with a lot of spiritual stuff, like kind of like past life bleed throughs, all different kinds of things. But this guy was notorious for being a creep. Preston Nichols was notorious for being a creep. And I think there was a little bit of manipulation with him at one point, where he would, like, you know, make it more than what it really is.
Now, like, trying to go back here a little bit as I'm trying to read and listen. You said before you were de-aged. Do you know how many times that you can recollect that you were de-aged?
I remember every time that I was involved in a program. I'm not sure exactly if it was all Montauk or part Montauk, or, there's all different kinds. So um, each time I was in a program, it was between 10 and 15 years. So each time, so if I went there within one time, that whole time was like, 15 years. So yeah, it was many times. So probably years.
Do you remember any bits and pieces of what you did each time? Like, what were they having you do?
Uh, let's see. Let me see. I'm trying to think of one right now that it just was up there, but that happens a lot with me. They don't want me telling the truth. That's the problem. But I do remember. I remember, like, oh, horrifying, like, the cages, and um, you know being fed certain foods. You know, the reptilian feeding room, where they would, feed some of the children that didn't make it in the chair that died. Or if you didn't want to listen to a command, they would basically say, okay, well, if you don't want to listen to the command, then we're going to put you in the feeding room and let you watch the Dracos eat kids strapped to a metal bench. And that would split you even more, so you would actually sit in the chair.
Now, with these other entities and everything,
What, like reptilians?
yeah, and like grays or anything, were they all
Uh,
working together?
what's that?
Were they working together, or was it all just
Well, I believe the Greys were the ones that were, like, doing a lot of the transporting, um, and the reptilians were there working on the underground.
I know, like with the reptilian, the theories that float around with them are they've been here long before man. And,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and I guess I try to rationalize things. If that were the case, then why are they still hidden? Wouldn't they be the dominant power of ruling the country? Why do they need to hide from us? They should be able to just do what they want, and they would be our overlords anyways.
Right. Right.
So I
Right.
don't. That's the. That's where I kind of. It's hard to digest a little bit, just because when you think about things like that, if they're so far superior than what we are, then why are they doing these like I call them games or trainings or whatever? I don't see the point of all of that.
Uh, right. Right. Well, see, what about other dimensions? See, we can open the other dimensions. Other realms. You know, down to Wizard of Oz programming, the subliminal messages, right? Like there's so many subliminal messages in these shows and all kinds of stuff. So I do remember that being one of the programs that I went through, Oz programming.
I think that's something too with Montauk was they also did the MK Ultra training, which the CIA has actually come out and admitted to being involved in that stuff back in, I think it was
They
like the 60s.
admitted, they admitted, right? But did they continue to do it?
I think they just changed the name, which they say, yeah, we did this back then, and then they didn't say they didn't stop. They just, oh, we don't do that. Well, you don't do the MK Ultra, but you just change the name to whatever it is you're doing now.
Yeah, no, I think they still do somewhat of an MK Ultra. I think they definitely still do. Um,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think they're still doing it. They're just calling it something different. It's the same concepts of what they're doing. They just don't call it by MK Ultra.
no, no. You're right about that. I believe that as well. And I don't. I think that more and more people are awakening to this stuff and um, taking a deep dive into it, which I did in 2014. I took a really deep dive and I went out there and I had missing time. I had all kinds of stuff was going on. A friend of mine, always says there's never a dull moment in Montauk.
I know they're
So
doing
something going on.
I know they're doing more. I forget what it was, but just from talking with you and trying to research Montauk a little bit, there's
Like
been,
grid work.
yeah, they're actually that someone believes that there's the base is actually still underground, a big underground facility, and
Oh, it is. Oh, it is. Why would the military want to own something that's flooded out? I don't understand.
yeah, they're talking about doing research and trying to get like underground mapping for it, basically going out there, but they won't let anyone with equipment to go out there and test the area because it's like a restricted area to prove that these bases were really there under the ground, but now it's like a
Well,
restricted area that
I definitely go to a channel Montauk is Strange, and definitely hit the like and subscribe button. You will get a lot of videos, you will get a lot of documents, you will get a lot of information um, from that channel, that YouTube channel. Um, this gentleman has been on a few television shows. He's highly targeted. Anytime we go on that base, like, okay, so I'm in the process now of getting ready to go out to Montauk this summer and do a documentary, and the name of the documentary or titled is going to be More to Life Than Montauk. And what my thing is with the More to Life Than Montauk is trying to explain to people that, yeah, even though we were abused and used in these programs, however we were used, and you question your own sanity, you're sane somewhere along the line. You're sane. If you're nonstop questioning yourself and you're like, hey, wait, I need to go look. I need to look into this more. I need to, you know, you're like geared towards finding out what really happened. What really happened.
now this documentary you said you're going to be a part of. Do they have anyone else that's experienced it too?
Well, I reached out to a few individuals that I don't even think they use Facebook. And one of the guys that I reached out to, he was telling me that he remembered me in his class. Now, he was older than me, right? But he remembered me being in his class one day, and the next day I was at some camp. That's what the teacher said. I have no memory of that. None. I have zero memory of that.
When did you, I think you maybe 2014, you said you started looking into it, but what set off like what happened to make you start remembering these events?
What happened was in 2014, when I woke up from a dream. And in that dream, I saw that tower. And it was like, I don't know if I was standing, I don't know the full detail of it, but as soon as I got up, I felt really weird, like I felt this like feeling, overwhelming feeling like I needed to look into something. So my computer was sitting on the, table in the kitchen, and I went in and I clicked the mouse, and sure enough, that tower popped up as Montauk Chronicles, the documentary. And I watched like a trailer or two, and for some reason it kind of triggered me. And then I went out there and I wouldn't stop. I just kept going and 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 kept going. Um, and I had some experiences. I've seen, a couple of different crafts, triangular shape. Some were like tubular shape with like, it just very, Montauk is a place that once you go, you'll never forget. It's one of those places. To me, it's like a whole nother existence.
Now, if someone else has had these experiences and are just trying to look into it, do you have any tips of how they should try to go about remembering these events? Or is it something
Well,
is this something you would recommend someone not to want to remember?
honestly, I say to myself sometimes, in some days I'll wake up and say, I wish I never woke up to this. Um, because it's also, you got to deal with the trauma. You got to deal with getting along with other people. And that's what they don't want. They don't want unity. They want division. That's their whole goal, is to divide us. Because we are powerful. We are Jedis. We are light, warriors. We are people of, that are special, that have abilities that sometimes people just don't understand. A lot of people don't understand it. When you talk about this stuff, they're like, it's just some military base. Oh, that's just some, that's just a lie, or, that was just a book, or, but until you get the actual feeling, it's kind of like putting your feet in your boots and going there and walking around and getting the feeling of it. You're going to get that real eerie, disgusting, vile, death type energy when you're there. It's, depending on the person, depending on how shielded you are, depending on how. Now, see, if I would have went about this a different way, I might not have had as many issues or bumps in the road. If I would have just kind of like just allowed certain things to come like they come now. But I'm not going to sit there and give you a fake story. I'm not going to sit there and I'm only going to give you what I can remember. And, you never know, like, memories come and go, unfortunately.
And again, for those listening that's not real familiar with Montauk or the project or the supposed conspiracy with it, if you've ever seen the TV show on Netflix, Stranger Things, it was actually they used the Montauk Project as a influence for the show. Like basically the whole lab and the experiments with the kids and the mind altering and everything else, opening up portals. All of that was what was supposed to be going on at Montauk.
Yeah.
So basically, if anyone is not familiar with Stranger Things, which if you're listening to this, you probably know what Stranger Things is, but that's kind of where they got the idea for that TV show for, was actually based off the Montauk Project with the experiments and everything that was going on back in the 80s and 90s and who knows, maybe present.
Yeah, I believe present, because kids still go missing all the time in New York, all the time. So, and it's not only kids though. That's the other thing.
There's a lot of people that have been missing to come up missing without traces. Just there's a series called The Missing 411. Like out in the woods, people come up missing. Like people just vanish without a trace, and it is very strange to me.
Yeah. Very, very strange. Very strange. And I believe I don't know if it was I don't know, maybe Preston Nichols or one of them spoke in there that was involved in Montauk. I think they spoke on that series.
I think there was a show called the Montauk Chronicles or something like that. I think Preston Nichols was involved
The
in it.
Montauk Chronicles was the movie that gave me the before it even came out, gave me the incentive to go out there because things started making sense. And then, knowing that I had a handler, which is somebody who is controlled, and maybe they might not know it. A lot of times they don't know it. They're controlled. They're mind controlled to take the child out there, take me out there on the weekends. I remember my dad saying, he didn't want to leave me with his, at the time, I'm not going to say any names because due to, people and slander or whatever. But, this woman would take me out there on the weekends, and I just remember that long road going to Montauk. Like I can actually vision it right now. Like I can see it right now.
Now, like, trying to think what I was getting ready to say. Sorry. Basically, do you believe that when you're like being DH, are they taking like the actual, like your consciousness?
Yes.
So your physical body stays here, your consciousness leaves your body and is transported somewhere else.
Like a clone, or like or a avatar, or yeah.
I've heard other stories with very similar things where I've listened to other like podcasts and someone claims that they used to work on Mars and they claim that it was basically the same situation, that they would leave their body, get de-aged, go be a soldier fighting for some federation out in space, and then they get de-aged and brought back, and then same thing again.
Correct.
So I've just always kind of been thinking, like, if they're moving someone's consciousness, how it goes back to the whole time travel concept as well. If you're able to do that and control time, you can pretty much control everything. So I don't understand the purposes of all this stuff if you're able to dictate time.
Right. Well, I guess, they were looking for young boys that could go into, from what I remember is, to go into society and, be a maturing candidate. I mean, look at all the, school things taking place. Look at all the, look at all that stuff. I mean, these are, and it's still going on to this day. So it's like you sit back, you wonder, okay, well, they wanted kids that were going to really shut their mouth, that were going to be, that were going to listen, and that were going to take commands, and that would be good assassins, and go on missions and do things for them, do their biddings.
You mentioned the Manchurian Candidate. This also kind of goes back to, even with JFK, the guy that's another rabbit hole to dig into. But
yeah, it is.
The belief with him is he was basically programmed to do this by the same type of mind control. And then if you go throughout history, like other assassinations, other, like you said, school shootings or whatever else that go on, these big tragedies, it's almost, they all fall into the same category of these individuals who are typically men, and the lone shooter or anything like that. It's almost as if they were kind of what you said, if you believe into the MK Ultra and everything else, that these guys are basically programmed and brainwashed to do the bidding for whatever political agenda that needs to be done.
Correct.
And like I asked earlier, do you happen to remember, you mentioned like cages and seeing stuff like, but do you remember like them, what they used you for purposely, like for work purposes? Did you remember being sent to space or sent anywhere like that?
I don't have any memories of that. I have had a few people say that I was involved with something in Shanghai base or something, which is China. Something to do with, I'm not sure the full, they haven't told me everything yet. It's one of those things that I'm going through like a process still, to process more and more and more. It's like you can do one interview, but a year from now, I might have a bunch of bleed throughs, and there's more to it. That's the whole thing. It's like as you heal, some of a lot of what goes on with me is my alters will surface, and then once my alters surface, I have to, basically either baby them and then send them into a quarantine healing realm, because they got to understand that I am me, I am Rocco, I am in control of me. My alters are not in control of me. And sometimes that's what they'll try to do is they surface. And when they surface, like for instance, it could be an 11-year-old version of me, right? So that's like a kid. So sometimes they could be inside of me doing all kinds of things, causing infights, causing this, causing that, and then all of a sudden it goes away. But I have to deal with the aftermath of everything because I just had to battle that whole, I basically had to lay that altar to rest a little bit. And so I do know that those times can be pretty, hard for me. And then, but the thing about it is meditation really has helped me in transmutating things into love, and no matter what, hugging myself, breathing exercises, because like I said, I deal a lot with these overwhelming, what they call as death energies. And literally sometimes they're intolerable.
Have you ever looked into hypnosis? And I'm not recommending doing that. I'm just curious.
Well, I was pre-regressed a couple of times. Like, I was pre-regressed, and one time I went into like I guess like I don't know if it was a vortex. I don't know what it. Can't remember, but I was seeing everything that this person was telling me. Like, do you see? What do you see here? And like I visualized everything. So yeah.
The reason I ask is because I don't necessarily trust hypnosis. I
Oh,
believe
I
that
don't either. I don't. I
I believe
don't.
that they can implement their own ideas or stories into that person, and that person starts to believe what they're being fed. Basically, is they're
No, I've
manufacturing more of a
never
story.
really had hypnosis. Hypnosis, like I've never really had it like that. Pre-regression, but I learned right after that that's not the road I want to take. Hypnosis. Um, I'd rather the memories come back naturally than pushing too hard.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm getting at is like if they're trying to dig in there, they could be suggesting things, and those suggestions manifest into your own.
Oh, of course,
And
absolutely.
it clouds the reality of what really happened in your own actual memories because they're implementing their own versions of memories into you, and that's the memory that you remember is something that they concocted themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why, yeah, I agree. Hypnosis is not the answer. So, uh, but some people they feel that it helped them, which could be the case for some people. But I don't think you got to be like you got to meet me personally. You got to meet a person, and I'm not talking about just one time. I believe you got to have coffee with that person, sit there, have a couple of conversations, get to know them, feel them out, because you know you can only be under for a certain period of time and before, and I think it's 30 minutes at a time. If you are 35, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, but these people that go for hours and hours, that could fry your brain.
I don't even understand how people become hypnotized, to be honest. I've been skeptical of the whole mysticisms of hypnosis and everything else, to be honest, just because I don't it's not that I don't believe, but because I've never experienced and I don't personally want to experience it. But I hear these commercials on the radio of this traveling guy that comes around and hypnosis is everyone for to lose weight or to stop smoking. How do you hypnotize an entire crowd at once? Like
Well, yeah.
I call BS on some of that stuff because it doesn't make any sense to me. I could be
Well,
wrong, but just rational speak.
understandably so. You have your own, all have our own opinions. That's that's great about it. But the problem with that own opinion thing sometimes it becomes an attack on an individual, and then it becomes let's cyberbully this guy, and it becomes if if we went through these programs together, right? We have any memory of one another. Not saying you in general. I'm talking about people that I know. A lot of them are dead. Um, a lot of them are in jail. Um, the people I remember. Um, I don't know if I really trust a crowd of people out there on the internet. Well, a pretty good percentage of the people. Um, there's a few groups out there. There's one group out there where I've met some people, and you know what? Today I just had a wonderful conversation with another lady about this, and we feel the same way. It's very interesting how you know the universe works, and like for me, it's like I'd rather knowing that I have these gifts, hone these gifts, right? And then also, I'll be starting, Reiki classes here pretty soon. Like, how to do like energy work and, that kind of thing. And, put my gifts to work rather than sleeping or sitting in my own memories are trying to leave those little memories that I have left, leave them there, which that's why there's more to life in Montauk. So there's me trying to aware people of what, you know, what 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 to me sounds more real is yeah, the time travel, all that stuff, but a lot of rape. Um, I feel that, and there's other people that believe this too, that it's a pedophile thing. There's a lot of pedophile activity going on with it.
The pedophilia thing actually ties into some other things that go on too. And that's another completely different topic, but
Oh, yeah, no, I know exactly where you're going with that. Absolutely.
like the upper elites and the rich and all the wealthy and the politicians and everything and the whole Epstein thing, like,
Oh, God.
yeah, the pedophilia that's ran rampant for years. And for whatever reason, people make jokes about it these days because we all know that it's true. And Epstein didn't kill himself. Yeah, he didn't kill himself, but here we are now, just making
It's,
jokes about it.
well, I mean, I've heard stories of people, they say they saw Epstein walking around Manhattan when he was in jail.
Yeah, I've seen stuff,
I,
but he's not really dead either.
no, I mean, when he was in, not even before that, when he was waiting to go to trial, people said they'd seen him in the streets. So, like, that's what I mean, there's more to this, there's way more to this. And, you know, well, I believe in sovereignty. I believe that, we, the people, need to wake up and be there for our kids and fight against the sex trafficking more than fight against one another in this community. Um, it goes like the yin and the yang. There's a push and then there's a pull, but then there's also balance. So it's like, I have to work on it myself, like daily routines, working out, like I said, meditating, um, helping others as much as I can, taking my mind off of what I can't change that already happened.
I guess ultimately, what do you believe all these things are actually for? If you had, just from what you vaguely remember, just from the stuff that you've seen and heard and read into, what do you believe this whole purpose was?
To be honest with you, I've never picked the book up. I've never picked the book up, but I've drawn sketches of the chair, showed it to other people. I have a sketch where it shows how it goes down, I believe, 11 sub levels. And on the 11th sub level, there's actual AI control, I believe, going on. I believe there's a lot of, you know, I believe there's like AI stuff going on out there too. Something with the grid out there.
AI technology is a lot more involved these days than it used to be, I believe. So it makes sense with the AI. I use AI to make artwork these days.
And I mean, here's the other piece is not too long ago, there was actually stuff was going on out there. They were, releveling. They're doing all kinds of work there. What, what, why are you working on a defunct, like Air Force Base? Why are you repainting? Why are you trying to make this place look pretty?
I'm not 100% certain. I'd have to look, but isn't it open, quote unquote, open to the public, but not
Yeah,
necessarily
but
everything?
but if you look it up, it also says that the military still owns the underground. But what's the problem with people going over the fence? You know,
Yeah, that's,
that that's like hidden in plain sight.
I've always said, and this is just my own personal opinions that don't mean shit to anybody. If they were really doing experiments, just Area 51, Montauk, any of those places, because there's already a stigma about what's going on out there, and everyone can be like, well, this is what happens out there. So are they really going to do this stuff there? Or is that where they want you to think that they're doing this stuff? Or are they just going to do it in plain sight? Be like, well, everyone says we're doing it. We might as well do it. And then everyone's going to not believe we really would do it.
I won't negate that. Possibly Montauk could have been a implanted thing, and it could have been something totally different, because think about it, you also have the Brookhaven lab, you also have all these different psychiatric hospitals that are out there on Long Island. New York, there's a lot of witchcraft rituals. You know, I mean, there's a lot of uncanny stuff that goes on in New York. I don't know where you're from, but there definitely is a lot of uncanny stuff that goes on in Long Island.
Yeah, I think there's stuff everywhere. There's all sorts of weird stuff out west. There's weird stuff mid America. I think
Yeah,
there's I think there's a lot of underground bases that we don't know about, bunkers.
absolutely, absolutely.
And to be honest, I don't necessarily know if we need to know about them. But at the same time, it's like it depends on, I guess, what they're doing. If they're taking people's consciousness, kidnapping kids, trafficking them, then yeah, that's something that has to be. People have to be held accountable for all the stuff that they're doing. But at the same time, it goes back to what I just said about Epstein: is we make jokes about it, just like the Clintons having people killed off. We make jokes about it. Everyone's like, "Oh, that happened." There's nothing anyone can do about it. It becomes a joke because it's like an open concept joke that everyone knows this is true. So what are we going to do?
Right, right. Well, it's like Montauk too. It's like when people say, "Oh, well, where are the files?" or "Where's this?" or "Where's that?" Well, maybe they were conveniently destroyed. You know what I mean? And it goes back to, you know, having the memories of the place. I mean, when I go there, sometimes I get very emotional. Sometimes I feel like I have eyeballs on my back. I've heard really loud noises in the woods. Hint being Junior, who, destroyed the base in the 80s, August 12th. That's why they call it Montauk Day. But, you know, uh, I personally and have well, I've had a lot of friends and myself personally where I went back there and I've seen some weird stuff. Like I went back there at 10 o'clock at night and I literally felt like there was some kind of figure behind me, right? And when I turned around, I saw like a flash just jump past me. And I was like, whoa, whoa. So I got in the car and I went down by the tower. As soon as I pulled up to the tower, there was a bright green light, literally, like just chilling, bright green light. And my friend had never seen one before. And she was like, what is that? And I tried to calm her down and say, easy, like that. Don't freak out. We don't want any problems. So we left. She hit the gas. I mean, there was no, like, she freaked out. She said she heard a loud bang on the side of her car. Now, that could have been Junior saying, get the F out of here. I don't know for sure. I wish I did. But I know she will never go back to Montauk ever again.
What is this Junior? Like, what is this like?
The interdimensional being that was created through the Montauk chair. He materialized. One of the psychs created him in the Montauk chair.
So it's supposed to be like some of these.
He manifested. Yeah.
A manifested entity that was created, came out of the chair, and you said it attacked the place?
Oh, it destroyed a lot of their technology.
Did it look like a person or a beast, or what was it?
From what I've seen in pictures, more like to me, kind of like just a like monstrous looking thing. I don't really know how to describe it. All I know is don't throw, that's another thing. When you go to these places, people think it's funny to just throw garbage or throw a beer can or do this. First of all, you shouldn't be drinking when you're in a place like that. That's number one. I learned the hard way years ago. But Junior is interdimensional, so he can appear anywhere at any time.
Now with the interdimensional, sorry,
what's that?
With interdimensional, they were open up different levels, different portals to parallel dimensions. I'm wondering if this Junior, whatever it was manifested, or if it was actually something that just got transported over here from a different dimension.
That's what I believe happened.
That also kind of falls back in line with the whole TV show, that Stranger Things, where they open up a portal and these things come over. So,
yeah. And Junior, I believe it was Duncan Cameron that did that. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it was Duncan that was in the chair when that happened. And, a lot of people said that Duncan was the type of person where he really didn't want to communicate with anybody. I guess the trauma or whatever really ate at him.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not 100% familiar with it. I haven't read the book. I haven't watched the show or anything about it, to be honest. So I tried to come in here with
open mind.
Yeah. I don't want a predetermined, this is what went on. implemented in my brain already. I want to come in here and hear your take on it before I look too much into it. But with that being said, I think we're about going to wrap this one up today. Is there anything in closing that you'd like to say for anyone listening?
For anyone who's listening, you can contact me if you'd like at Rocco Fowler on Facebook, or email me at roccofowler11@gmail.com. And that's spelled ROCKOFOWLER 11@gmail.com. And to just remain strong and know that people are awake and aware of the unknown.
Alrighty then. Well, Rocco, I appreciate you coming out and talking with me. It's definitely very interesting. It's something I'm going to go back and look into a little bit more now that I've already had our discussion. So I appreciate it, and thanks for taking the time out to come talk to me today.
Anytime, Ed.
All right. Well, you have a good day. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
And that's our episode, everyone. Again, I'd like to thank Rocco for coming out and talking with me tonight. I know sometimes it's very difficult for guests to discuss things that's happened to them, especially instances that have been traumatic. So I do appreciate that when anyone is willing to come on the show and talk with me. And if you'd like to be on a future episode of Tinfoil Tales, you can reach me at tinfoiltalespodcast@gmail.com. You can reach out to me on Facebook. Just look for Tinfoil Tales. Shoot me a message over there. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Good night, everyone.